Aaron has it. But I do, yeah, he's gonna record this one now that he thinks about it. So um I
Can
do
you
have a
send me
link for
that?
that. If you need it, I
Can
can
you send
put
me
it in
that
the
too?
chat.
This is Jacqueline. Can you send me that too?
Yeah, I'll just put it in the chat.
Great,
I'll
thank
fish.
you.
I have it in my notes somewhere. I'll fish it out.
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And to get to office hours, it's,
For today. It should be the same link, I believe.
okay, great, perfect. We haven't done that before. Thank you.
So today we have Adrian Gonzalez, make and receive offers. Adrian started with Keller Williams, Eugene Springfield in 2016. He's skilled in construction, rail operations, operations management, and customer service. By utilizing the latest technologies, marketing research, and business strategies, he's been able to provide exceptional customer service. We're happy to have him today. I hand it off to you, Adrian.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. First off, I want to congratulate all of you guys for being here and educating yourselves and just taking in all that knowledge. I think that's one of the biggest things right now, you know, starting your career is just taking in all the information you can from different avenues and pick and choose whatever you like and then just pour it into your business. Maybe what works for me may not work for you guys and vice versa, you know, so congratulations for being here and good job and keep doing that. Another thing I want to point out, you know, since we started off our call with making calls, I do strongly agree that anybody that is doing like 20 contacts, you know, maybe 15, 20 contacts a day, every single day, like I don't like to guarantee almost anything, but I think that's one of the things that you cannot fail in real estate if you really are making those phone calls every single day. It may feel like at the beginning you're not getting nowhere and you're just getting stuck and business is not coming your way and you just keep putting in the effort but not seeing the results. Like, believe me, it'll come, you know. So let's get started.
I hate to start off talking so much, but I just want to ask, because this has been something I've been wondering. When you say contacts, is that like 10 to 15 people that are actually interested in real estate, or is that just you touching or talking, like calling people?
Good question. By a contact, I would say just reaching out to people. I like phone calls, you know, but a contact really, I guess, could be as simple as just communication back and forth, not just one way. So they got to communicate back with you. And then really just keeping yourself top of mind, right? That they remembered you and they know who you are. And I guess the better the conversation, like if you're talking about real estate, then that's even better. Like if they know for a fact that you're a real estate agent, like that's all you want to know, like for those newer agents. But for those agents that are already established and they've been in business for a while, and they know for a fact you're still in business and doing business, then really just staying in touch with those people at that point. Before I get started though, I realize there's quite a few participants, but today's topic is make and receive offers. But I do want to, make this impactful for everybody. So maybe what are some things that you guys are wanting to take away from today's class? And feel free to type it in the chat bar or just speak up right now.
I'd like to be able to learn how to present a competitive offer. So an offer that is going to stand out.
Okay. So how to write a strong offer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe some of the contingencies or lack thereof that would go with that also.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect.
I just want to understand what would make a better offer if it's a lower price point that's offered, if that makes sense. Like the things that make it a stronger offer.
So is this an offer that you would be offering on so less than what its list price is?
Not less, but like if you have a bunch of offers that come in and it's not the strongest offer, what makes that the smaller offer that comes in a better offer than some of the bigger offers?
Okay,
what are
so
the
at
things?
this, so basically you're the listing agent and then
Yes.
how, okay, so how could you make an offer that is less than another offer? Like what
Mhm.
makes one offer more important than the other?
Yes.
Okay. Well, how to determine a strong offer also, right? Any other things? Any takeaways that you want to take away from today's session? Okay, this will be easy. All right, so I honestly, right now in this market, making and receiving offers is a really, really strong, important topic. And the way an offer is written really does impact whether you'll get it accepted or rejected or a counter offer or whatnot. So let's dive in. I'm going to do a screen share and just show our slides, okay? Just to confirm, does everybody have our packets for the power session?
Was it a special packet that was supposed to be sent out today?
No, it's just the make and receive offers, you know, the Ignite power sessions.
Okay.
You're talking about in the binder?
Correct.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay.
I need those.
You do need those, huh?
Yes.
Okay. What office are you at?
Eugene.
Okay. I will make a note of that, okay, Lauren?
Thank you.
Okay. So all of you guys did your contacts and all that, right? Good. That's the most important thing in this industry, honestly, is making those contacts. And by doing those contacts, like I said earlier, it's really hard to fail if you're making your contacts. Okay. So again, those contacts, it's just really important to be making those every single day and taking a note of that, okay? Today, really what we're gonna be covering in this session is how to write and present offers that win. Get the best offers. So when you're representing the seller, getting that best offer for your seller, how to choose that best offer. And then thirdly, you know, how to set the stage for a successful negotiation, okay? So I guess we'll skip this section. You guys, you know, kind of already know your homeworks, how many contacts you're doing, how many note cards you're sending out. You know, practicing your scripts. What are we saying to our clients? And then watching videos. So if these are things that, you know, we should be doing as realtors, these are our duties, our responsibilities. And again, if we're doing this, we should be successful in the business. So these are the things we should be doing. Just adding 10 new contacts to the database daily, speaking with 10 people in your database, and writing 10 notes. Man, again, if you're doing this, it's hard to fail. And then weekly, just preview 10 homes. It's a good idea. Get familiar with the market, what's out there, their prices, their conditions, all of that. That way you're looking like the professional when you're out there previewing homes and showing homes and whatnot. So here's kind of the section where I was talking about if we have our, everybody has the Ignite packet. So here was where we'll turn to page 8. Previously, I mentioned, practice and role play. I really do think it's important to have a script practice or a script partner and just do phone calls and practice these. In this packet today, we have a few scripts, and practicing the scripts really does help for when we're in those real life sessions with our clients. And it's better to practice with these our script partners than with our clients. That way, when it does happen with our clients, we're prepared and we act as if we know what we're doing, right? So for today, I don't know if, other sessions you guys are obligated to make the phone calls or not. If so, I'm going to be that bad realtor. We're not going to do it, but I'm telling you, it's important to do these calls, okay? Okay, so get your head in the game, and then the offer, the process of moving from a buyer, a seller agreements to a sales contract. So basically, you guys already have the buyer or you already have the listing, right? So now we're either gonna be writing offers or we're gonna be reviewing offers. So that's the fun part. Now you get to deal with business rather than finding business, and that's really an important stage in business. So arriving at the offer stage really is exciting and rewarding time for you and your client. If you represent the buyer you're searching for has paid off and your client has finally found their new home. And if you're representing the seller, then you've diligently already marketed the property, prepared the property for sale, and you received an offer from a prospective buyer or multiple offers. So this is a point where for the first time, the buyer and seller are going to either be coming together and making a major financial decision. So during this time frame, honestly, it can become emotional experience for both parties, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller. And so our goal is to bring them together and arrive at a sales contract where both parties, come to a win. As with every phase in the progression, you do need to work quickly and carefully during the offer process. And this session will prepare us to do just that, okay? So we go from leads to appointments to agreements. Now you're in the contracts phase, right? Because we're writing that contract up or we're reviewing that contract. So you're getting close to payday. It's the fun part. I think it's one of the negotiations is honestly one of my favorite in real estate. See, so once we're in the offer process, your buyer, you guys make the offer, right? Once you guys make the offer, there's 3 different outcomes. Either we're going to get an offer accepted, we're going to get a counter offer, we're going to get a rejected offer. In this market, I mean, it's very common to get your offers rejected and or accepted or a counter offer. And earlier, I mean, this is where it's important. Anytime I'm writing up an offer, before I even write up the offer, I'm contacting the listing agent and I'm trying to find out any information that I can about the seller's situation. And really what that conversation looks like is, what's your seller situation? Are they looking to purchase another home? If they are looking to purchase another home, has that home already been identified? If it has, great. Then maybe that's where we were talking about in the offer when you write it. Like, let me take a step back. Does that seller, once you find out that information, dig deeper. Ask more questions. Does your seller need to occupy after closing to be able to move from one home to the next? And that's how you could maybe make your offer more attractive. Offer to allow the sellers to stay at the property after closing. Now, whether you guys choose to make that for free, whether it's going to be a week, 2 weeks, I don't know. That's up to you guys and your sellers. But honestly, the way I do it, and I tell my clients, like, the more attractive we can make our offer, then the better the more appealing it's going to be to the seller, right? Like right now, really, we got to, as buyers agents, we got to make these offers look attractive, right? I seen in one real estate post recently, which is funny and it's really sarcastic, but it said, "Dear Mr. Seller, please accept our $50,000 over ask price offer. We will buy you pizza for every Friday for the remainder of the year. We will name our firstborn child after you guys." And it's like, it's funny, right? But like, really, you just got to tailor these offers to sellers like that much to get your offers accepted, And so that's kind of where I'm getting at, is when you make this phone call to the other agent, just try to ask good questions, try to find out the seller's situation, and make these offers attractive to your sellers. And I say this in this specific market, if we were in a different market and we had a lot of more inventory and your buyers had houses to choose from, like, then this information is irrelevant. But based on today's market, like right now, we just really do got to tailor to these sellers and make our offers attractive. I've heard in some scenarios, I don't advise this, but buyers are waiving their home inspections. I don't advise that. I want my buyers that if they're going to buy this house, know what they're buying, right? What's the plumbing like? What's the electrical like? What's the roof look like? What's all the components of that home look like before they can make a big financial commitment, because if something were to be wrong, like after they buy the home and they start finding out about a lot of defects in the home, like likely it's going to be the realtor who ends up getting a phone call afterwards. So I don't recommend that, but if they feel comfortable with that and maybe they're very experienced and they're hands-on buyers, then who knows, maybe it is a good idea to do that. But that's one thing where I've lost out on multiple offers, is because these buyers were losing out on, or these buyers were making their offers and they were waiving their home inspections. So earlier, somebody asked, if you're representing the seller, what's a good offer? Like if I get it, my seller gets 5 offers and one of them is 5,000 and they want to do home inspections and it's with a loan, and the other one is with a cash deal and they're waiving their home inspections, and it's $5,000 less than that other offer. Honestly, like I think that's a really strong offer. And the reason for that is because, one, they've already waived their home inspections. Like there no longer can be negotiations in regards to the condition of the home. And then it's cash. So now you've eliminated the financing portion. And then likely it's going to close faster, So that's one way where that's a strong offer. And as a seller, I think it would make an offer attractive. But maybe if the seller has got all the time in their hands and they, that offer that other competing offer is $5,000 more, then maybe it might be a good idea to accept that offer. I think every scenario is different. Every client is different. And if they are in a situation where they need to sell the house fast, then that's different, right? If they are in a situation where they got all the time in their hands, that's also different. So again, every situation is different. Just asking good questions is, I think, how us as agents can determine how to move forward and which offer to accept, really. So yeah, before really making an offer, again, I think it's really important to just get in touch with the listing agent and ask questions, find out more about the seller's situation, okay? Any questions in regards to this?
Adrian, I have a comment to say about that. My husband and I are currently in the process of purchasing a home here in Eugene. And one thing was, because we're realtors, the sellers were concerned that we were gonna like nickel and dime them going through the inspection process. And basically we agreed to say that, you know, we'll go along with the process, the buying process, as long as during inspections, nothing structural or safety related came up. So that was kind of part of our negotiation of how we went through that.
I love it. So did you actually, in fact, write that in the maybe additional provisions or an additional addendum?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. We added that to the offer.
Yeah, see, I love that. There's just so many creative ways that as realtors we could write that. For my clients, a lot of the times what I do is in additional provisions, I'll put as, and I'm representing my buyer, I'll put, we talk with my clients first before doing this, but sale to be as is, no repairs made, you know? Now that doesn't mean we cannot do home inspections. You still
Right.
have the right to do that inspection, right?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
And secondly, I don't do this to my clients to mislead them in any way, but okay, I tell them, let's assume something dramatic we find something dramatic on that home inspection. And I also at that point when I'm having this conversation, I like to set an expectation of really what we're looking for in these home inspections. Maybe you guys already heard this from another agent, but I like to set that expectation that we're looking for things that are cosmetic and maybe a hazard to our safety and our health, right? Because every home's going to have, you know, minor issues, really. So let's assume something were to happen and we did not know about this. Nothing says that we can ask for a seller credit, and nothing says that we cannot negotiate the price. All we said is that we're doing as is, no repairs made, right? And maybe we did say as is, no repairs made, but I guess, you know, now that you have new information, like just renegotiate, you know, and try to come to an agreement. Maybe if the sellers didn't know about that, like they're going to probably be as shocked as the buyer is if something like that pops up. So just try to negotiate it at that point, you know, but that's a good point. You know, that's where you can just always get creative and tailor to our sellers,
Yeah, exactly.
other sellers. So that was more of a statement that you were making, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't
Thank
have
you.
a question. I just thought that maybe I would share what our experience was with that.
Thank you. Another thing that I'll add on to that, Rebecca, because I've bought in a lot of homes, you know, that are listed on the multiple listing service, and I represented myself. A lot of the times I forfeit my earnest money, or sorry, my brokers, my commission or whatever. I don't get a commission, and there's a reason for that, and that's because I don't want to get a commission and then I have to pay federal and state taxes when I receive that commission, and then at the end of the deal I end up receiving less. So instead, what I like doing, the seller is going to be receiving the same amount regardless whether it's mine or not, and you can take this in two different ways. One, you can either forfeit your your commission completely, and that means that the seller nets more. And the interesting part here is we're not supposed to write anything about our commission on the sale agreement, is what I've been told by our principal broker, Tom Dye. That's supposed to be held outside of that sale agreement. So whether it's done like in an email or whatnot, then that's the way it should be addressed. But either forfeit your commission, and or I like to get a seller credit towards my closing costs and prepaids.
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
exactly what we did. We
Perfect.
let the seller's agent know that that's what we were gonna do. And so it's not in the contract stuff at all. It's just goes through normally and
Yeah,
added to
love
the,
that.
to the closing cost.
Because a lot of the times, like if you're buying a spendy home and you have money left over from the prepaids and closing costs, now you can buy your interest rate down and you have a lower interest rate than you would have if you would have taken that commission or whatnot, you know? But every situation is different. Maybe you need that commission and maybe you want the commission to do repairs. Well, if that's the case, maybe ask for a credit towards repairs or something, you know, so you can get creative in so many different ways. So that's what I love about real estate. And again, that's why negotiating is my favorite topic, because you can get creative a lot.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions on this topic?
Were
I
you
just
just
wanna-
talking about forfeiting your commission if you're her, if you're Rebecca? Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Like if you're buying your own place, forfeit the commission? Is that what you're talking
Correct.
about? I got lost a little bit when you were talking about forfeiting a commission. I was like, why would you ever forfeit your commission? But you're just talking about if you're buying your place.
Yes,
you're-
correct. Yep, correct. Only if you're buying the house for yourself and you're representing yourself on the purchase.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well,
what,
and that said, Aisha, I actually have had agents that they're probably getting eager and they're trying really hard to get their offer accepted for a client. They actually said, instead of taking, let's say the commission was 2.5% is what I'm seeing most commonly right now. They were willing to go down, I want to say 2% on their brokerage fee. And then they were going to allow the seller to keep that remaining balance. So I guess I've seen it in both ways. Again, getting creative, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really nice of those agents.
It really is.
Yeah, seriously.
Wouldn't that kind of situation almost be negative for the listing agent though, if that did come back up, that they kind of push that offer a little bit more because they're putting their interests kind of into the mix because they might get a bigger commission out of one?
Yeah, I mean, I in that situation, I was representing the seller. And we didn't accept their offer. And the reason for that was because it was a USDA offer in comparison to an offer where they were coming in with a bigger down payment. And in reality, we were already kind of concerned that maybe it wouldn't have appraised for the amount, because we received offers, you know, $20,000, $30,000 over than what it was listed. And so now here's the scenario where, let's say she was the agent where she came in with a conventional offer, big down payment, and additionally, she was going to forfeit a portion of her commission. I think we still would have strongly would have taken her offer, because to the seller, I think it becomes irrelevant whether they're forfeiting their commission or not. I really think it's the details in the offer more that matter than the commission.
but if the house doesn't appraise and they're using any type of government backed loan program, then don't they have to lower the cost of the house?
And well, it becomes, good question, Emily. It becomes negotiable at that point if that scenario were to occur. that's one thing. Another that I'll point out right now is as a seller, if you're representing a seller, you receive multiple offers, and maybe you see one offer has a really, really strong down payment, you can counter offer that agent, or maybe even have a conversation with that realtor like, hey, we're really strongly considering your guys' offer right now at this point. But before we accept your offer, like we're considering or wondering whether your buyers would entertain the option that if in the event the property does not appraise for what your clients are offering, would they be in a position where they can cover that gap? Like, let's say they offered 300,000 and it only appraises for 280. Can your clients cover that $20,000 gap if that were to happen?
So they need to have the cash available.
Exactly. Yes.
And you fill out an addendum.
Yep. And that's something that I'm also seeing. I'm not seeing it no more as heavily, but I was seeing that a lot, 3 months back in, back to COVID. That's something that I was seeing a lot is people, buyers were paying more than what the home does appraise for if in the event it doesn't appraise for the agreed on purchase price. I don't like my clients doing that, but hey, who knows? In certain situations, that home might matter a lot to them. What if it's right next to their mom's house, and they're in a financial position where they can do that? So in some scenarios, maybe it is worth it to them, and maybe they have a lot of cash on hand that they're able to do that. So yeah, good question. So good pointers as well.
I was just going to mention, I talked with the lender. I don't do anything illegal at all, so I don't want to sound shady by saying this, but we do live in Eugene where there's a lot of people in the marijuana industry. And so just that money that we were talking about, that difference where you have to prove that you have that money, your client can't just come up with that money. It's got to be traceable. If they can't, if you get a gift or whatever, it has to be traceable to the person that gave it to you as a gift, which I didn't realize that. So it's new.
Yep. Thank you for mentioning that, Aisha. Yeah, that money, it just can't come out of the blue, right? It has to be, the lenders have to be able to prove and trace where it's coming from. Seasoned funds, they like to see it already in your bank accounts. But yeah, I asked the lender, hey, when these addendums are being written up and it's saying that they're willing to pay, over an amount that it doesn't appraise and the agreed on price, they said that's fine as long as it's clear in writing and the buyers have the funds to be able to do that. Lenders don't affect their financing at all.
So Adrian, I have a question. Can the source of the funds, let's say somebody really, really wants a house and they don't have cash available, but they could take it out of, let's say they have a whole life policy or their retirement. Can they use that? Is that an acceptable?
Yeah, good question,
Sure.
Kimberly. I love the brainstorming, thinking outside of the box ideas. That's probably a question for the lender, but to my knowledge, yes, as long as those funds are available and it's in their, a retirement account.
Right.
So in my experience, I have seen that being able to be done that way.
Okay. I
But
thought, but I just, as long as it's traceable and the bank can call and say, oh yeah, they've got the funds in there and they weren't just miraculously deposited in there.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the only thing I'll point out is if you ever put your clients in that position, just make sure that those funds are available and it's not going to be an issue, and if
Right.
there's a slight concern that it is going to be an issue, just make it contingent on those funds being available.
Right.
Based on this information, whenever you guys do receive a counter offer, counter offers are great. Now you got the ability, you're negotiating, they didn't like something on your offer, but now they're trying to negotiate. So that's great. Anytime you're in that stage and you receive a counter offer, anytime that you get an offer accepted, awesome, you did the right thing. Learn from that, learn maybe what you did, what you put in your offer. And then if your offer does get rejected, maybe call the agent, try to find out more of what the situation is. Did they in fact already accept another offer? And maybe ask why. Like, what was it that we did that, you know, how many offers did you have? Knowing that information matters a lot. Where did we come in? Like, what could we have done better to make our offer accept better? You know, these are questions that maybe you might feel like it doesn't matter no more, like you already lost the battle, right? But for the next offer that you have to submit for your clients, it might help in that situation. So don't give up and just ask questions. I think that matters a lot, and it allows you to succeed for the next transaction or the next offer or whatnot. Okay. So representing the buyer. Once your buyer finds a property and they want to make a purchase, there are 3 actions that you need to take. And those 3 actions are, we're going to prepare to write the offer, which, you know, there's a checklist for preparing an offer. We're going to write the offer. And then thirdly, we're going to present the offer to the listing agent. We kind of talked a lot about some of these steps, but before you write an offer, be sure that you are fully prepared, so you can work quickly and efficiently so that you can actually begin writing it. You know, use a checklist that's on the following page, and you know, which these steps, when you complete this checklist, this helps you have a good complete offer. I think us as agents in this industry, it's really interesting how much information buyers have now. I've been in situations where I go show, you know, I get a new set of buyers, and these buyers, you know, have the same information most of the time that I have. You know, so us as realtors, I think it's important to us to provide more information, more value that we can find out. For example, before you go show the home, and I don't expect you guys to do this for all homes that you show, but maybe call the agents and find out, you know, like about the seller situation before you go show the home. So that way, when you go show the home, you kind of already have an idea of that situation, and you give them that information up front, right? That way, if they like the home, like they have that information, and it helps you guys make better decisions. So just adding value. I remember having some clients that I went to go show them homes, and they had they previewed some site, and I think this is available through like a Eugene website or something, but they're like, oh yeah, the crime is very low in this area. We thought that was attractive. And when he said that, I'm like, hold on, how did you gather that information? Or like, what site are you viewing to gather that information, right? Because he gave me insight, like, hold on, how did you know that? You know, and so us as agents, if we can give them that value, that makes maybe the home even just a little bit more attractive. So this is where and again, I'm telling you this information because it kind of does allow us to prepare to write that offer. So let's dive into our package, pages 12 through 18. So a checklist for preparing an offer. So you want to make sure, you know, that you obtain a buyer's pre-approval letter from your lender. So anytime that you submit an offer for your buyers, make sure to attach your pre-approval letter. Because again, let's say you present that offer and they're going to review offers the following business day or following day. You want to be able to provide all that information up front. I know there's times maybe if you're writing an offer on the weekend, then maybe CC your lender in that email, and your lender can give the buyer's the seller's agent a call. I've done that before. That actually makes an offer stand out. You know, get a good lender, you know, and tell that lender, hey, we're going to be submitting an offer on this property. this is the listing agent. Would you mind making a phone call, just giving them a little bit insight on our buyer? That makes, I think, a good impression for the listing agent, because any lender that calls me when I'm representing a buyer and they give me in-depth information about that buyer, like that's more information, more power. It makes that offer more attractive. So have that pre-approval letter available. And if they're cash buyers, have proof of funds available. Produce a comparable market analysis. I don't think that's too important in this market, especially if you're competing against multiple offers. You're representing the buyer and you're going to be presenting an offer. Really, I feel like it's kind of a waste of time to be doing comparable market analysis to see if that property is worth it. That's just my personal opinion based on this current market situation. But if you're in a situation where that property's been on the market for a while, maybe, and they don't have any offers and you're going to be the only offer on that property, that might be a scenario where it probably is a good idea to do a CMA for that buyer to kind of grasp an idea whether they're overpriced or not. Make sure the property is still available. Always view the multiple listing service and view any information there on the private remarks. When speaking with the listing agent, again, call them, build rapport, gather as much information as you can about the seller and the property as you can, and then present that to your buyer's agent or your buyers. Ask questions of the listing agent to discover what's important to the seller. So find out their time frame, their motivation for moving. This allows you guys to customize the buyer's offer and address the seller's offer for more pressing needs. So again, just tailoring to the sellers, right? Inquire about activity on the property, such as number of showings. So in that regard, I always like asking, like, how many offers do you have? If you do get offers, and of course, it always seems like if they don't have any offers, as soon as you put in an offer, they get more offers, right? But anyhow, ask how many offers they have. I think that always allows me to dictate how to write a strong offer. What if they write one offer? I'm not going to go in there and offer $30,000 over ask price. Like, I'm wasting my client's money by doing that. So I'll go in there and I'll offer them list price if in a scenario like that. I don't know if a lot of you know about an escalation clause. Escalation clause state, we'll offer X amount, maybe $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever amount you want, not to, over any other competing or bona fide offer, not to exceed more than, and then you put your client's limit, Speaking about limits, this is where I always say to my clients, I want you guys to offer an amount that, regardless of the outcome of our offer, whether it gets accepted or it gets rejected, I want you to be okay with that end result. I don't want you to later on find out that it sold for $5,000 over than what you offered. And you're like, man, I would have offered $5,000. Like, I don't want you to be that buyer. And I don't want you to be the buyer that offers, $5,000 more than what you wanted. And then later on, once your offer gets accepted and you close on the deal and you're getting buyer's remorse and you're like, man, I overpaid for this and I'm really strapped on funds and my payment is more than I wanted it to be. Like, no, I don't want you to be that buyer either. Like, just be completely happy with whatever your offer, the results are or the outcome is, right? And then going back to that escalation clause, basically that says if this escalation clause is used, seller to provide proof of any competing offer. There's some reasons why I do like the escalation clause and I don't like the escalation clause. The reason I like the escalation clause is because it allows your buyer to not have to immediately jump up to their full amount that they're willing to go up to, right? So What if there isn't another offer in between? Let's say they offer, you know, competing offers in between 300,000 and then your buyer's willing to go up to 350, right? That's a big gap. Like, what if the other competing offer is only 310 and you could have saved them $40,000? Like, that's a big, big gap. So that's the reason I do like the escalation clause, because you are able to save your buyer some money. But the reason I don't like it is you are discovering to the listing agent and the sellers what your guys' buyers maximum comfort zone is, right? And by you doing that, nothing says that listing agent can send your buyer's agent a counter offer and says purchase price to be 350,000. Like, if that seller wants to be truly and really greedy, they can do that. And now they don't even have to show you proof of that other offer, because you discovered to them what your guys' max was. So
Can I add in here?
Yeah.
Actually, we had just made an offer for a house 2 weeks ago, and Mara helped me out on that. And she wrote the escalation clause to be that that we will go up in increments of $3,500 to up to a certain ceiling we had set, and then that if the escalation clause was put into effect, then the seller had to show proof of the other offers if we had asked for it.
Right. So was your offer accepted?
It was, yeah. It was without the escalation clause.
Oh, excellent. Good job.
Thanks.
So what did your offer get accepted at?
At 530,
Okay. What was your guys' max that you put in the escalation clause?
550,000.
Okay, see, so that's where if the listing agent and the seller were greedy, they could have simply wrote a counter offer to you guys and said purchase price to be 550,000. And your client may have accepted it, you know. But
So they could have wrote with their own counter offer? Is that what you're saying?
correct.
Hmm.
Because you discovered to them how much your client's highest offer is, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because and I understand that escalation clause, and the reason I'm saying this is because I just like to educate people and make but if that agent is savvy and they want to be greedy, like that's the term, I think, greedy, right? They can do that, and they can come back and say, okay, they just told us how much they are willing to go up to. Let's send them a counter at 550.
Okay.
But I think they're being fair with you guys. And when you're fair, I think that makes it more of a win-win situation for both the buyer and the seller. And I'm glad that it worked out that way. Otherwise, if you catch on to them being greedy and they don't show you proof of that other offer, you're going to be like, well, hey, hold on. Like, do you in fact have other offers? Or are you just trying to get our max, right?
Right. But
So
Isn't that unethical? I mean, that seems really unethical.
it does, yeah.
I don't think it doesn't seem unethical. It seems
It's
like
not.
greedy, but it doesn't seem unethical.
It's not unethical, honestly, because you discovered that to the other agent.
Now,
But
let's
I
say in
would-
that, scenario,
Oh,
in
sorry.
that scenario, he rejects the counter offer. Then the original offer essentially is rejected as well because there's a counter offer made.
Yes.
Does that mean that you have to and let's say that was the only offer, then do you have to say, all right, I reject that offer, but I'm going to re-offer what I offered before, giving the
Yeah.
seller a chance to accept it again?
I mean,
Yeah.
could you just write into the offer that the seller can't produce an offer of their own?
No, because naturally on our counter offers or on our offer, they have three options, right? They either accept, reject, or counter offer. They have those three options. I mean, you can put final offer, right? Or that's why some agents will say no escalation clauses, and this is the reason for it, because they want the buyers to put their best foot forward, and they don't want to do this back and forth. Okay, I'm going to give you a counter offer. They just want best final offer. That's it. But back to your question, I forgot your name, but yes, once you receive, like in your situation, Barton, let's say that you would have received a counter offer that says 550,000. You have now those three options. You can accept that offer, you can counter offer, or you can reject. What I would suggest is talk with the listing agent at that time of receiving that counter offer. Like, hey, do you guys in fact have another offer? Like, can you express to me what's the reason of the counter offer? Like, where's that price coming from? And can you show me proof of the other offer, right?
Yeah, that was written into the offer to show that we would see proof. And it wasn't, I should probably look it back up, but my impression wasn't that counter offers were part of it. It was offers coming in from other parties, I guess. But maybe it wasn't written that way. Maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can counter offer. So if Bart had been like, if they had countered Bart and said, oh, we want 550, and he countered back, he could be like 530. Can you counter less?
Yeah,
Okay.
nothing says you can't counter offer back to them, right? But now anytime that you're doing a counter offer back to them, you're just opening the door for allow them to either reject your offer or do another counter, right?
Right.
So you're just, yeah.
I mean, they better have other offers in hand, because if you just flat out reject it, even though you've revealed the max amount, if you just say, nope, I'm not paying my max amount because you haven't shown me a counter offer, or you haven't shown me any other offers, then they
Right.
lose you. And if they don't have any other offers, then they might have to accept something that's like way below 550.
Exactly. Does that answer your question, Cal?
Yeah, I think it does. Thank you.
Perfect. Good questions, guys. I like
Okay.
those questions.
Okay, here's how it's worded. I looked up my contract and it says buyer will beat any competing offer by $3,500 up to $550,000. An event of escalation clause that utilized buyer has right to view proof of the highest competing offer.
Okay. Yeah, that's the way, like, it's similar to the verbiage I use, but like, yeah, you show me proof of the offer. But like I had said, that's the only reason I don't like using those escalation clauses, is because if the other agent is savvy and greedy or the sellers, nothing says that they can do a counter offer to you in that situation of that escalation clause. Nothing says that they can do counter offer and say purchase price to be 550. And now you have the option of accepting or not. It's up to you.
Could you write into it that the offer has to come from a third party or anything like that, or?
No,
offer?
Basically, you're not using that escalation clause. Like, that escalation clause is no longer being used, and they just simply wrote you a counter offer.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's not the escalation clause. You're just saying that I gotcha.
Yeah, because
You're willing to go that high. Gotcha.
yeah, because you discovered to them like, hey, we're willing to go to this amount.
Right. Okay. Now I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Glad I clarified that. So yeah, this is good information. Present. So that's just a good way and when you're negotiating that, like that, those are good indicators, but I always like checking in with the agents too, when they, when you send that offer and you receive that offer, just stay in touch with that agent. I've had agents that are representing me or are submitting offers on my listing, and they're consistently making me phone calls, and like, they might kind of seem a little bit pushy, but that shows me like they're very interested. They're showing initiative. They want the deal, right? And so I think it's good to consistently stay in touch with those agents after submitting an offer. Another key item is maybe obtain seller's property disclosures. If you can obtain those even before the deal and sign off on those immediately, that also is a good idea. And then again, just find out if there is offers on hand. if they come, if there's a property and maybe it comes back on the market, you know, it was on the market and it went pending and then it's back on the market, like maybe ask why, hey, why is it back on the market? You know, sometimes just asking more questions that helps us understand the situation better. It's interesting, you know, one thing I used to do a lot to make my offers stand out is I would write personal letters for my clients, you know, or they write personal letters to the sellers, maybe about the home and more about the buyers. But now that's no longer permissible. They call them love letters. So they're not allowing that no more, which is a bummer because I've had situations where I had offers, you know, we won our offer based on that letter, and they were going to lose more money than by going with our offer. But it was that personal letter that got our offer accepted.
I think I had read that part of the problem was people were putting pictures in with that. And then, then the issue was racial discrimination.
Yeah, I got personal opinions about that. Like, I don't think it's right that they got rid of it. I mean, I can see the concern with it behind it, but nowadays I feel like social media, like a lot of people have social media. So plus the buyer's name is on the sale agreement. If somebody really wants to make it based on discrimination and it's for that solely on that reason, they can still discriminate, I feel, based on that. But that's a whole different topic, right?
Can I ask a question going back to when you're the buyer of the property as an agent?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to represent a seller and actually purchase their home?
Okay, so is a question that you're representing yourself as the buyer and you want to purchase the seller's home?
Yes.
And is that home on the market or off market?
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying you're representing the seller and you want to purchase that home.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My coach always says that, you know, like I like investing in real estate. So yes, absolutely. You should be walking into every single listing appointment with the mindset of, man, can I buy this home? Should I buy this home? But just be totally transparent and open. Like, this is what could happen if you list the home, and this is what would happen if I buy it from you, right? Just be totally transparent about everything. That way you're not misleading the seller about anything. But great question.
Would you have a third party appraisal in that situation just to protect yourself?
Yeah, I mean, most likely if you're going to be buying that home with a loan, then yeah, an appraisal is going to be occurring.
No, I mean, even if you didn't buy it, let's say you were going to pay cash, would you still have an appraisal just to protect yourself to prove that you were paying a fair market price for it or anything? Or
I wouldn't. Like, me personally, no, because I feel like I have a good enough idea of value. But if I didn't know the market and I didn't know its true value, then yeah, absolutely, I probably would.
Okay.
Isn't a property defined, its value is what it gets on the open market with competing buyers? So if you don't put it in that position, how can you present as an agent your offer in a good light?
That's a great question. In this market, you are, and so that's kind of where I was leading to, is set those expectations up front. Like, in this market, like, everybody should be receiving what we call a TMO, total market overviews. And in there, it breaks it down in price ranges. And then it also tells us the list to sales ratio, and it gives us an average on what that percentage is, right? And on average, they're selling above list price. Share that information with your seller. So like, and then on your comparables too, when you're showing your seller those comparables, and if they're listing at, you know, 300,000 and all of them on average are selling $20,000 over ask price, you're going to share that information with your seller. Like, look, Mr. Seller, based on these comparables, you know, I think we should list at around 320,000. But just know this, that if we were to list it, it could sell for over ask price, because those are the patterns we're noticing with these other homes. But if I buy it from you, I'm willing to buy it for X amount, you know, are you open to that? And if they say yes, like, that's, you've already given them the information, and that's a decision that they want to do. Maybe they're willing to sell it for you less. Maybe they don't even want to deal with people roaming through their homes because of COVID. You know, you never know. Every situation is different. They may not even want to list it. So that's why I just say, as long as you're being honest, ethical, and open about everything, you should be fine in a situation like that.
Just so I understand, that the ethical or potentially legal problem would be if you essentially implied that the market value was less than what it is and you bought it at that price, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's where you're not being honest and ethical.
Okay.
Good questions, guys.
Does that mean you can technically be a dual agent with you're representing yourself as the second party?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
Just, I write that in the offer, you know, seller or buyer is a licensed realtor in the state of Oregon. Just write it in that offer, disclose, you know. And again, like, I would probably run, once if you guys find in a position where you're going to be doing this, run it by your principal broker, you know, verbiage and all that. That way you're kind of covered there, you know. So ensure your buyers know that, you know, all checks, like your earnest money. So once you start writing in that offer, you know, a good rule of thumb to make a strong offer is 1%. If you can make that earnest money even stronger than 1%, then that's another thing where it's going to make your offer look more attractive and appealing. Heck, if you even make that earnest money non-refundable, non-negotiable, like, and your buyer is serious, their financing is not an issue, or maybe only you make the financing portion not that has that contingency, and everything else is, you know, you eliminate those contingencies. You could do that as well. So again, just a good amount for your earnest money. Okay, so page 15, so price and terms. Always consult with your buyer about arriving at the most logical offering based on, let's say you did do a CMA and they didn't have an offer. You're doing your offer based on that CMA you provided for them. Then in that situation, you know, consult with them, like, where that offer is coming from. Any like personal property or any fixtures, you know, consider what those items always are, you know. Are they going to be included in the sale? You know, if there's any sheds, if there's any refrigerators, stoves, you know, hot tubs, stuff like that, that is considered personal property. Is that going to go included in the sale agreement or not? Sometimes, you know, if it's a property that has acreage, and your buyer really wants that riding mower, but you don't know whether the seller is going to be needing that for the next property they're buying, then maybe a way I write it is seller may at seller's discretion leave the riding mower. You know, now that is up to them whether they want to leave it or not, but it's not going to break the deal, right? So that's one way I sometimes write stuff up when including personal property. You know, basically your timelines, that's something maybe you want to go over with the listing agent when you call them. Do they want a quick closing? Do they want a delayed closing? Do they want to occupy after closing? Stuff like that. If you do an agreement to occupy after closing, like maybe make that agreement a part of it. That way all parties are protected. And that document highlights a lot of the terms of what happens, when you're occupying after closing. Is there going to be a daily fee? If so, how much and whatnot? Financing terms. I mean, when you write offers, guys, do take the time. Make sure check off every single box and make sure there's no like blanks, like the down payment. If you know how much your client is doing for a down payment, put that in your offer, because if you leave that blank, you're kind of misleading the listing agent, and they're going to think that they're getting a type of loan where they don't have to do a down payment maybe. And that does make the offer a little bit less attractive. So really take the time, make sure every single thing is filled in, and fill it in properly. Financing terms, make sure to check that off, whether it's conventional loan, FHA, like don't leave no blanks. Again, just attach your pre-approval letter. If you guys are needing any right now, it's hard to get any accepted offer if you're asking for closing costs. I've been able to do it with a few properties. It's just got to get creative, but it is doable. But it's very challenging. If you're asking for closing costs, again, just make sure you're using proper verbiage for that. And when I say that, like, don't just put seller to contribute 2% towards closing costs. Well, 2% of what? 2% of 100,000? Like, be specific. 2% of the purchase price, right? So just use good verbiage for everything. Home warranty, is there going to be a home warranty included in that sale agreement? Are you asking for repairs? That's an interesting approach. Like if you guys go to that showing and immediately from the get-go, you see items that your buyer is already alarmed by, and they're going to, for a fact, want those things done, I would say make your offer based off of that information. However, maybe this is a different approach. Some people do it, they get their offer accepted, and then once they're at home inspection timelines, then they try to negotiate it then. But I don't know. I like to do it the opposite. I like to, do it based off of the information I have that's readily available, and then deal with it up front and make that information obvious to the listing agent. Like, hey, this is why we're offering this, is because we are aware of these items and my client is willing to accept it, knowing that that information or that the condition is like that, and he's willing to take it on. Now the listing agent knows, and honestly, that information is valuable. Maybe any special clauses that maybe additional provisions, that you might have to do. Let's say a property is occupied by a tenant who is responsible for that, and let's say your buyer wants to occupy it. You're going to want to make sure to clarify how that is going to be handled. Who's going to be giving the notice of eviction? Is it going to be you? Are you taking on that new tenant? Or what's happening with the security deposits if you are taking on that new tenant? Are you probably want a copy of the current rental agreement, stuff like that. Are they up to date on rents being paid? So there's just a lot of things that you guys got to ask questions in order to dig deeper, right, and find out more. And you want to write that out in your additional provisions or in a separate addendum specifying, what's going to happen with those tenants or whatnot.
For financing purposes, what things shouldn't be written into the contract itself and should be kept separate so that the financing company mortgage is not going, the lender is not going to get concerned about those issues.
Love it. Great question, Lauren. My rule of thumb is really anything that's going to throw a red flag to the lenders, don't include it in your agreements. But if it's something that needs to be specified, then write it in a separate addendum and write it in an addendum that's not going to be shared with the lenders. Maybe label it addendum A rather than 1, 2, and 3. And you might want to talk to Tom more about this specifically if you find yourself in this situation. But then also, and be open too. I always have these conversations with the lender too, and or the listing agent. Like I love having these conversations with the listing agents, the lenders and stuff like that, and just be open about it, because when you have these conversations with the listing agent, you're now coming in with the approach of like, hey, we're a team. How can we get this deal wrapped up without throwing red flags to the lenders? Like buyer wants this, and if the seller is on board for this, like awesome, like that's what we want, right? Not just put it all on paper and write out the terms. But I guess to answer your question more specifically, I think things that would throw a red flag is if you say, seller to credit $5,000 towards closing costs in lieu of repairs. Okay, he said repairs. Like lender's gonna wonder, like, what are you talking about? What repairs are we talking about, right? So that might open up another can of worms, and it's gonna offer them to dig deeper and say, hey, what are you talking about here? Now, if you say, and you're specific, and you say seller to credit $5,000 in lieu of repairs, roof repair. Now you're being specific. Now the lenders know what to expect. If you can provide an invoice that roof repair has been addressed by a licensed contractor and that has been addressed, perfect. That will open up the questioning, but it's also going to resolve the questioning, or it should at least. So I think that answers your question, right?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, I don't like raising any red flags to lenders. When you do your home inspections, that's for buyers' information only and listing or buyer's agent. But that never gets shared with the lenders. Okay, so when the buyer wants the seller, so these are some role plays and objection handlers or scripts that you might, and again, you guys should have these. But basically it's like, okay, so when a buyer wants the seller to make repairs. So buyer, until you have a physical inspection, we will not know how much these items will cost, and we could find additional repairs we may want to negotiate consequently. So you have 3 choices. 1, you can either offer the seller less money now to compensate for those items. Number 2, you can ask the seller now for a credit to repair those items using your own contractor. Or 3, you can usually advise your clients to wait for the physical inspection and negotiate all repairs and items all at once. How would you like me to negotiate this offer on your behalf? So this is basically a script that we can use for a buyer when they're already immediately starting to ask for, maybe things that are alarming to them. I always like to tell them, and I always have this conversation with my buyers when I do a buyer consultation. All homes are not perfect. You're gonna, expect to have things that need addressed or need attention on any home. What we're looking for is things of major concern, or that's an issue to your safety or health, or foundation or structural or steep stuff like that, right? And so that sometimes helps with, you know, them having to ask or nag on things. And then what I tell them too is picture this. Most sellers right now are receiving multiple offers. And if we do start asking for a lot of things, I mean, I say, you know, it's completely your choice to ask for whatever you want to be repaired. But just know that if we do ask for a lot of things, they may tell us, you know, they're not going to do anything. And then they may be wanting to, you know, go accept another offer. They can't accept another offer if they already have our offer accepted, but they won't want to do nothing. And then if you want to terminate that, they'll just go to another offer, you know. So that sometimes helps with that issue as well. Here's another script. This script is for when the buyer wants to make a lowball offer. This probably shouldn't be common in this market, but if it is, again, I always go back to the market statistics. I show them what the market is doing. I show them my TMO, and that always helps educating them on what the market is doing. Because if they are wanting to make lowball offers, maybe ask them why, or what is their offer being based off of? Like, why is it they're offering that amount, right? And then that, as a realtor, is going to help us know why they're offering that amount. But if you find yourself in the situation, here's a script that's provided. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, there are 3 ways to negotiate a transaction. 1, you can either make a lowball offer and run the risk of the seller rejecting it or countering back at full price to compensate. Or 2, you may make an offer closer to the asking price and be less flexible if there is a counter offer. Or 3, you really want this home and you are concerned that a buyer may purchase it. You can make a full price offer and give the seller what they want. It's your choice. How would you like me to negotiate this offer? So that's a good way to handle that situation as well. Again, I like to use kind of the script like I mentioned previously, like whatever the outcome of the situation is, whether your offer gets accepted, rejected, counter offer, whatever it is, like I want you to be content regardless of what happens, right? That's, I love using that script because ball's in their court. I'm just guiding them. And then third one, present the offer to the listing agent. So once you have the offer, it's all written up, call the listing agent immediately and let them know that the offer is coming in. It's up to you whether you want to discuss the terms on that offer over that phone call or if you just want to let them know. Sometimes I've found, you know, I send an offer and I didn't make that phone call. And then maybe I call them the following day to let them know, hey, I sent you that offer. And they're like, oh, I didn't receive it. And it's in their spam. Like that rarely has ever happened. That's happened to me like once or twice in my whole career, but it's a good idea. And it just, you know, it allows them a time to go over any questions they might have or anything, but just, it's nice. Follow up with a call, let them know that you have sent them an offer. You can't do that. Maybe just send them a text, send them, hey, I've sent you an offer your way. Please confirm you've received it or whatnot. Again, just request a reply within a short amount of time if you can. And what I mean in regards to that is the offer response deadline. So right now, you guys are probably noticing a big pattern, which is quite interesting because the RMLS released this statistic that in the private remarks, if you are seeing, you know, and they're putting a deadline, you know, in the event of multiple offers, offer response deadline or offer deadline to be Monday at 5 p.m. Sellers will review all offers on Tuesday at 5 p.m. and respond accordingly. Then in those situations, sellers are netting more money than they would if you don't put that offer expiration timeline. or an offer deadline. So that's one tip for you agents taking listings. It's a good idea to put that verbiage in your listings. I personally like to leave my listings on the market for at least 3 to 4 days on the market, because like somebody mentioned earlier, that's how we're getting value for our sellers, is by letting that market saturate and sit on the market for at least that timeline, and give most of the market an opportunity to view that home and get in there and see it.
Are you putting it under the remarks?
What's your question? Sorry.
Oh, are you putting that under your private remarks?
Yep. Yeah, if you're the listing agent, put that in the private remarks.
Okay.
You know, in the event of multiple offers being received, offer deadline to be in X amount. You know, and who knows? Maybe your seller, like I said, every seller's situation is different. I always advise them, hey, it's best to leave the home on the market for 3 to 4 days, if they're wanting to net the most. It just depends. Every situation is different. But me personally, my job is to net the seller the most amount of money. And so for that reason, I always give them that information. So that being said, if that information is notably or readily available to you as the buyer's agent, and they have that in the remarks, then give the buyer's agent or seller's agent enough timeline to respond to that offer without having it to expire. Because because you already know that they're gonna give enough time. Now, here's an interesting thing too, is I have been in situations too where maybe you're like, oh, they have that listed in their remarks. And you want to wait to show your buyer it. Don't wait if you don't have to. Like, if you can get your buyers in there, go show it to them and make your offer immediately. Don't wait till the last moment, because what if that seller decides that they want to accept an offer and they don't want to no longer wait because they're tired of all these showings, maybe, you know? So get in there. If they like it, put in an offer, don't wait. Because they may accept another offer. I've seen that happen. Even though they said that they weren't, they did.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If you're representing a seller and they cannot close for a certain period, would you disclose that under the remarks that are public, or only to the representing agent?
Great question. I think if you have that information, and let's say your seller does in fact need that time to be in the home until a certain date, and you already know that, and it's a non-negotiable, put that in the private remarks. Make that information available to the agent. Because what if that agent doesn't, you know, there's going to be some agents that might not, like I'm saying, you know, call a listing agent before you write that offer. There is some agents that never make a phone call to the agent and they just write an offer. So if you don't have that information in the private remarks, they would have never known that. So yeah, if that's a non-negotiable, I would say put that in private remarks. Otherwise, if they do write an offer and they don't put that in your in their offer terms, and then you could simply write a counter offer, and you really like their offer except that one thing, write them a counter offer, you know, and you might be able to get that worked out and negotiated for them. Now, if the seller counters, consult with your buyer to either accept the counter or counter the offer. At this point, it is important to remind your buyer of the current market conditions. You know, if they do write a counter offer, you're just opening up that possibility of them going to another offer if they do have multiple offers. So just be aware of that situation if you are planning to do a counter offer. And then
Can they write multiple counters as well? And whoever's the first the one who accepts it first is the one who gets the deal?
Can they? Yes. They shouldn't though, because what if both buyers accept it at the same time? They don't have two homes to sell, you know, they only have one. So no listing agent should be doing that. If you are the listing agent and you do find yourself in that situation where you have two attractive offers, I would instead make that phone call and have a conversation with maybe the first best offer and have that conversation over the phone call and say, hey, here's what we are considering. We are really strongly considering your offer, but here's what we want to counter offer. If do you think your clients would be acceptable to this? And have that conversation via the phone first rather than doing it to two people, because you can find yourself in a pinch if that were to happen. Because once an offer is accepted, it's a legally binding contract. So when your buyer's offer is countered and your buyer wants to recounter it, it's important that they have the proper perspective. And so here is another script for you guys. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, by countering, the seller has essentially just sold you the home for $200,000. If we counter at $195,000, it allows the seller to walk away from you or accept another offer in the interim. It is the risk of selling away your dream home for only $5,000. Are you okay with this at risk? I love this scenario. This happened to me probably about 3 months ago. And now my buyer is just sitting on the sidelines and still not bought a home. And this house had been on the market for probably about a month. We came in, we put in an offer. I think we offered like $5,000 less than what they were asking. And we also asked for a seller credit. They wrote us a counter offer. They said, no, we want full asking price. And yes, we will give you your seller credit. And in that timeline of my client waiting on the decision of that counter offer, whether he wanted to accept or reject or whatnot, the sellers wrote us an email and say, we are withdrawing our counter offer. We have accepted another offer. He lost out on that and he was going to accept that counter offer. But again, time is of the essence. You cannot think on deals that long, otherwise you will lose out on deals. So yeah, it's very interesting. Again, is $5,000. Here's what I tell my clients. You know, I understand the importance of $5,000. And here's what I ask them: what's important to you about that $200,000 purchase price? Like, why $200,000? And here's another piece of information I'll tell you, and you can run this by your lenders, but $5,000 on a loan amount, whether it's more or less, is only $25, or I don't say only, but is $25 on your monthly payment. You know, I know me personally, I can save $25 by, you know, not going to a coffee shop, but that's up to you whether you guys want to break that deal based on that information. And I go the extra step. I say, hey, do you want me to contact the lender and see what your monthly payments are going to be based on that $200,000 purchase price? Because maybe that's what they're basing off of their information off of, you know. So by us providing that information to them, it allows us to help them in a better way. So there's a script for that. Questions on that? Okay, when the buyer makes an offer on your client's property, and there are 4 actions to take. So this is, now we're representing the seller, okay, guys? Okay, so the buyer offers, okay? So go ahead. Oh, I think we're past this one too, huh? Okay, 19 to 21. So representing the sellers. So now we receive the offer. So when a buyer makes an offer on your client's property, there's 4 actions to take. Number 1, receive the offer. Number 2, gather information about the seller. About the buyer. Number 3, you present the offer to your client. And then number 4, you respond to the offer. As soon as I receive an offer, honestly, guys, I review it, I go over it, and I gather as much information as I can. And then I let my client know what all the offer terms, you know, the highlights of it. And if they are wanting to wait until a certain deadline, that's fine. But I let them know as those offers are coming in, how many offers we have so far. And I tell them as we go. And then if we're going to review on a certain timeline, now they kind of have an idea of what they have rather than hitting them all at once. And boom, we have 10 offers. You'd be like, whoa. So I like giving them that information as we're getting showings. I also like letting them know that sometimes you will get threats. I call them threats from buyer's agent saying, we're going to write an offer. I don't share that information with my sellers because I don't like to hype them up. And then what if you don't get no offers and you're like, hey, I thought we were going to get an offer. Like, I don't want to create that for my sellers. So I only make them aware of an offer when it is presented and it is in fact in paper, in writing, okay? Once we receive that offer, so first you want to thank the buyer's agent for the offer. I think it's a good ethic practice. Respond to that email, let them know, hey, thank you for the offer. I have received it, okay? And then if you know or even think there might be another offer coming in, let the buyer's agent know. If you do, so if you have another offer in hand, let them know. Don't hide that. If you don't have any other offers in hand, also let them know. If you're going to be waiting to respond to that offer by a certain timeline, that's a perfect time to also let them know. And then review the offers for accuracy and completeness using the checklist on the following page, okay? Guys, I think us as agents, this information, you know, if you're doing this and you're letting other buyers agents know, you're building a good reputation for yourself, and it really does make agents want to work with you in the future if you have another deal. If you have a poor experience with one agent, maybe because of whether it's you who perform poorly or them, I'm sure you guys are not because you guys are all here today. You probably are not going to want to work with that agent, right? So that's why it's good to kind of build these good habits right now. So you in the future are building a good foundation for the future. So it's a good idea to gather information about the buyer. I don't do this, but I'm going to read it to you guys and just to give you ideas, okay? So, and the way you can do this is ask the buyer's agent questions such as, how long has the buyer been looking? Have they been pre-approved by a lender? Do they have anything to sell? So is the purchase of this home contingent on them needing to sell? If they are from out of town, why are they moving into this area? Why did they select this particular property? How did they come up with their offer price? That's a good question. These are all good questions. Have they made offers on other properties? And if so, what happened on those negotiations? I like that question. Like that helps you understand, like, why haven't they been getting their offers accepted, right? Like, this is a good offer. Like, I'm curious, why haven't their other offers been getting accepted? You know, you can ask these questions. Nothing says you can't. And if you get a response, great. If you don't, then at least you tried, right? But by you having this information, it really does help you have a good, strong, solid buyer for your seller, and you're setting yourself up for a good, smooth transaction for the end, okay? One thing I'm gonna add right now, for the offer that I'm highly considering, or if I'm highly considering maybe 2 or 3 offers, if it's cash, I want to see proof of funds before I accept anything. And then if they are getting a loan, I want to see pre-approval letters before I accept anything. And then secondly, I like to talk to the lenders or the buyer's lender. And the reason for that is I've been burnt too many times where we accept offers from buyers that honestly should not have had pre-approval letters. And when I have that conversation with the lender, it kind of looks like, hi, I'm calling in regards to your buyer under the name of X. You know, this agent is the one representing them. They have submitted an offer on our property. I know that you are you're not able to divulge certain information to me, but you know, what can you tell me about this buyer? You know, I'm sure that you already ran a good thorough. I'm not questioning your profession or anything, but you know, are they good solid buyers? And that just right there, you'll know. You know, if you're not able to make contact with that lender, you leave them a voicemail, call them twice, they're not giving you a call back. That might be a red flag right there already. You know, like you should be hearing from that lender or somebody on their team. So I always like doing that. Call the lenders and have a conversation with them and just doing pre-screening up front, because it has happened where I accept an offer from a buyer and they shouldn't have had a pre-approval letter. And yeah, so again, it's a good idea to do that. The more you know about the buyer, the more prepared you are for your seller, and you will be able to respond if anything, you know, happens or occurs. The goal is to respond to the buyer with a high likelihood of knowing how to respond if in the event something needs to occur. Now, a checklist for reviewing an offer. You want to make sure that the address is the correct house. Price, you want to check to see whether the offer falls in the range of the seller's expectations. Earnest money, you want to make sure that the earnest money amount is specified and it is acceptable to the seller. Check to see that the earnest money plus the balance of the down payment plus the loan equals the purchase price. Again, this is where I was talking about for us as agents. If we're writing an offer, make sure we're watching all of that closely and detailed. And that all those numbers add up. You know, if you're doing 5% down payment, or your buyer is, make sure that those numbers make sense and they add up, you know, because we're being held based on those numbers. Let's see what else. Time of acceptance. Check to see how long your seller has to respond to that offer. And be sure to get content initialed by your seller if you do go over the time limit. So just be cautious about that. If you don't respond to an offer and it has expired, I think it's common courtesy to let that agent know, like, hey, you know, seller is out of town, can't get a hold of them. We're going to be responding by this date, you know, or as soon as I get a hold of them, just give it an update. I think it's common courtesy, you know. More communication you have, the more, I think, successful transaction you're going to have. Loan approval, be sure to have the specific date for the formal and final loan approval. So the dates, make sure that the financing terms are agreeable to the seller. You know, the loan, what kind of loan are they doing? Closing date, make sure that the closing date on the offer will work for your sellers. Again, if none of these items work for you, right now, you guys as listing agents, you guys got the control. You got the ball in your court, honestly. You got an agent that's being pushy and like, we want a response today. Like, you know, I'm sorry, Mr. Buyer. Like, again, we strongly appreciate your offer, but we're going to wait. You know, if you really, truly do believe that's a really, really strong offer and that you feel that they're going to back out, if you do wait, to also take that into account, because they may bail out. They might go to another property that they're seeing maybe a little bit more attractive. So also take that into account, you know. And then home warranty, review if there's any home warranties involved or considerations. Go through the appliances, fixtures, anything that they're requesting. You always want to review those offers carefully, because what if your seller wants to keep the refrigerator and you overlook that and you don't review the sale agreement properly? I've had some agents tell me about a horror story where the buyer's agent put seller to credit, you know, 6,000 or whatever amount towards closing costs and prepaid, but they put it in a section where it was not supposed to be, and the agent overlooked that. And guess what? When they got to the closing table, the escrow officer seen that clause and of course was given that credit to the buyers, and the seller nor the buyer agent knew about, or the seller's agent knew about that. And the listing agent did the right thing, and he said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I never noticed this. You know, I'll take the hit, I'll pay for it." You know, but gosh, that's an expensive lesson to learn, guys. So review these offers really closely. Be in a position where you're in a quiet spot and you can review these offers very closely, because that's our job, and our sellers are, you know, depending on us for this guidance. So really, we got to do a good job for them. Possession date. Sometimes they're giving us a certain amount of closing after closing, so make sure that's being reviewed. And then now you have received an offer from the buyer's agent, and you have reviewed this offer to make sure, and now go ahead and make sure that there are no questions or surprises. And now it's time to present the offer to your client, okay? So first, call your client to let them know that you have an offer to present. Inform them of the offer, the price, and the closing date. If possible, present the offer to your client in person. I typically always do it over the phone, because they're just in this market, they're consistently coming in. So it'd be kind of a waste of time to having to go in person and tell them about offers. If the seller is out of the area, you can still present the offer using eEdge and then talk to them through it by phone. In that situation, I like to send it to them via email, and then go over it with them, you know, page by page, and just tell them, okay, yeah, this is where I'm seeing this, so go over it with them. And then, good idea, just keep the tone of your conversation in a positive as possible at all times. Never criticize the buyer, their agent, or the offer. Again, we just want to remain neutral, give them the information, let them process it. Explain the offer, discuss the days on the market, the number of showings we had, review an updated CMA to put the offer in perspective to your client. So I don't think a CMA is necessary in this market unless you have been on the market for a very long time. And then reach a decision, reach a point of a positive agreement with your clients on how they will proceed. And then explain that they have 3 choices at this point. So now they can either accept the offer. If the offer is reasonable, they may accept the offer on the spot and of all the terms they like. Remind the seller that if they accept the offer, the property is sold at that point, and they no longer can accept, entertain, or any other offers, okay? And/or the second option is they can counter the offer. So consult with your client, determine a reasonable counteroffer amount, write the counteroffer amount in the contract, or prepare a counteroffer form and have the seller initial it. And the third option, reject the offer. If the offer is unreasonable, the seller may reject it. The seller may or may not decide to invite the buyer to submit a new offer. So again, if you reject it, make sure that they're going to be happy, content with that. Have a plan B in place if you are rejecting that offer. You know, just be ready for that next step. If you don't have another offer, you know, maybe it's not a good idea to reject an offer. Try to negotiate. So I always like to negotiate if that's your only offer. Right. Okay, so turn to page 22, guys. So do you guys typically break into groups? Has this still been happening even though we're going through Zoom?
We haven't been.
No? Okay, so we'll go ahead and skip this, okay? What I am gonna do though, I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes. I'm gonna allow you guys to review these scripts. I'm gonna take a quick break. Go to the bathroom. I'm gonna come back. For those of you that don't have these scripts, we'll view them together, okay? So this is on page 22 of your guys's Ignite package, okay? All right, guys. So do all of you guys go over some of these scripts or want me to go over them with you guys again? Or go over them? Okay, I'll go ahead and go over them. I just realized there's a few chats, so I'm going to go over this real quick, okay? Okay. So one of the scripts for present the initial offer to your seller. So this is, you have the offer. Now we're gonna present it to your seller, okay? So good morning / afternoon. It's Adrian Gonzalez with Keller Williams Realty, and we have an offer on your house here for review. I'm going to go through the offer with you. Is now a good time? Yes, excellent. All right. Now the offer came in at 200,000. They're putting in $1,000 as earnest money and 5% as a total down payment. They want to close on August 30th, and they are asking for no money for repairs. What do you think? And just kind of be quiet, let them respond. This is not how mine always go. You know, I kind of go item by item, and sometimes they'll kind of step in and say, oh, nice, or oh, they offered that. No, but you know, so we'll kind of talk about it as we're going. But then at the end, I do like to end it with like, okay, what's your thoughts? What do you think? Let them move forward. Now here's a script for when you present a low offer to your seller. Never criticize or show a negative attitude about a low offer. Present all points of the agreement first before discussing pricing or other disagreements. So that is a good common practice. Again, just going back to that and highlighting that. It is good for us as realtors just to remain neutral, because if we, depending how we handle that phone call, whether it's a good offer, bad offer, or whatnot, they're immediately feeding off of our energy. So our energy is high, they're likely going to have good energy. If our energy is bad, they're gonna sense that. Whatever our energy is, they're gonna sense that. So again, that's why, you know, never criticize or show negative attitude against low offer. So the script goes like this. Now, that's lower than our asking price, but it is an offer. So we do need to decide what would you like to do? So that's a little bit a better way of, you're leaving the control and the decision in their hands, right? And then recommend that your client, here's a script for when you recommend that your client accepts the offer. I will urge you to consider this offer very carefully and consider the value of meeting your moving goals in the long run. Moving your overall goal of selling your home is more critical need, correct? Your property has been on the market now for 60 days, and the average time on the market for this area is 30 days. Buyers are going to look at the same data. They're going to see that your neighbor's house sold for $300,000 and the house around the corner sold for $300,000 as well. They're going to want to pay fair market value compared to these other sales. You accept this offer, the probability of closing and meeting your goal is 100%. You want to meet your goal, right? So this is another script for, you know, kind of recommending them to accept the offer. Here's another script. Any questions so far? Okay. Here's a script for recommending that your client make a counteroffer. We look at any offer as a positive thing initially. We always recommend a counteroffer instead of rejecting an offer. It may be that we can negotiate this up to where we need it to be. Let's put together a solid counteroffer. We need to get it back to them quickly to keep things rolling and to see if we can make things work. I think the thing to focus on here is the price you want to get for your house. Putting this offer aside, if you could get this home sold and closed in 30 days, what would you feel comfortable selling it for today? Let's put together a counter offer that would put us in the range where you feel comfortable. Remember, not all offers are going to work, but it is a good sign that we're getting an offer. You've made this person's list as a house that they thought was one of the best homes for the money. I'll call the other agent and ask them how they come up with the price. So, you know, having that information will help you come up with a counter offer. Any ideas or ahas, or think that'll work for you guys to use for your presenting offers? Good. Okay. Now we get to work the offer. This is on page 25. So you get to practice presenting offers as a buyer agent and as a listing agent, basically responding to the offer. Sorry, work the offer. We're supposed to work in groups for this one, but I'll just kind of go through this. One person's supposed to be the agent and the other person be the seller. Who has these scripts, by the way, on page 25? Anybody?
Got a script on page 24, but not 25.
24, okay. Yep. All right, let me see what I got on page 24.
My page 25 is the work the offer.
All right, what about for 26? Page 26, where it says set the stage for positive negotiation.
Yep.
No script.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. So basically, I think there was supposed to be given a sale agreement that it was already prepared, and then just basically kind of getting into groups, and you know, one person's the buyer's agent, one's the listing agent, and then presenting that offer. So I'll go ahead and skip this since maybe we don't have that. And I'll go ahead and move forward onto the next test. But what that does, it kind of allows us to get into the idea and the habit of, you know, presenting an offer and or receiving an offer. Set the stage for a positive negotiation. Whether you represent the buyer or the seller, the goal is the same. To kick off a negotiation process that is positive, efficient, and ultimately leads to a win-win agreement. So again, like I said earlier, like when you have that good type of energy and it's with the, you know, the buyer's agent, I love working deals with, you know, buyer's agent or seller's agent, where we both come to a scenario where we're like, hey, like, you know, maybe you're brainstorming and it's like a unique situation. Like to me, those are win-wins because my buyer wants it, their seller wants it, and both agents are on board. Like those are excellent transactions in my opinion. And that, in my opinion, is win-win or no deal. Ideally, if the listing and offer are priced right, the seller will accept the buyer's initial offer and move directly into the contract to close process, bypassing the negotiations on price. That would be probably reject, right? Now, it's also possible that the seller immediately rejects a buyer's initial offer. Perhaps they received and decided to accept a more attractive offer, or the offer was simply too low. In this case, the buyer agent should press forward to see if no really means no deal. So again, always dig deeper if your offer does get rejected or whatnot. However, the most common response to initially low offers is for the seller to make a counter offer. This is a sign that the seller is interested in the buyer's offer and has extended an invitation to negotiate. While you cannot control or predict the actions or the decisions of the client or the other agent on the other side of the deal, you do have the complete control over what you say and do in an effort to influence a positive negotiation process. So that's very important to take into account. So recognizing that customers come first along Keller Williams Realty's 9 core beliefs, which is the ones we're seeing here. This belief system guides the way that Keller Williams associates treat each other and their customers. Place a strong emphasis on setting the foundation for win-win negotiations and subsequent closing. The goal for every customer who does business with you to have a positive experience. Again, building that strong foundation, and they're going to want to work with you next time and when that opportunity arises. I love integrity, doing the right thing, but customers always come first. That one's awesome. Commitment in all things. Communication, seek first to understand. I will tell you that that is probably one of the primary ones for me and has helped me as a realtor. A lot of the times, sellers have so much emotion going on. Buyers have so much emotion going on. And if they are expressing and relieving that their energy onto you, sometimes us as realtors may be, predicting that or getting that information in the wrong way. So if you seek first to understand, from their approach or why they're coming at you, maybe with a bad response or poor energy or something, if we always seek first to understand, your energy is going to honestly allow a better outcome, I believe. So I love seek first to understand. Creativity, always put ideas before results. I love being creative and trying to come up with ways to make something work. Again, that comes into teamwork. Together, everyone achieves more. Trust, it starts with honesty. You gotta be honest in order to gain that trust, right? And then success results through people. One of the most important fundamentals in business, as well as within one's personal life, is the decision to not only make commitments, but to keep them. That's written by Mo Anderson. There it is. So this is kind of the next page, action plan. So recap of an assignment for today. So basically, actions are going to be to identify the resources in your market center to review documents before submitting to the client. Secondly, you want to find out how to get the forms needed in the offer process. Check with you guys' MCA for that. Practice your scripts. Those are always helpful. Just it's better to practice with a script partner than it is with yourself. And then secondly, prepare for the next class and then download the free work, okay? You guys are going to want to bring your phones, laptops, tablet, and then the database to that every single class. Any questions so far, guys?
I've got a side question.
Okay.
Do you put in multiple, when you're working with a buyer, do you put out multiple offers to different properties?
No.
Okay.
I never have. Here's an interesting topic though, Jared. Like, I was questioning that in one situation, but I guess the scenario would be this, where I possibly would in this situation, but I would run it by Tom before you do this. But let's say there is one property where they have an offer deadline, and let's say it's Friday today, and they're going to review tomorrow offers on Saturday. And your client is really strongly wanting to put in an offer, and we're talking about the same client, 2 different properties, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's a second property, and that second property, they have an offer deadline listed on the remarks for, let's say, Monday, and they're going to respond Tuesday. Definitely, in a situation like that, I would probably go ahead and put 2 offers in. Or I might also do this though, Jared. I might put in my offer first, and then I know we're going to have a response for that offer by Sunday. Then I'll just wait to get a response on that offer. Wait till Sunday. If we get our offer accepted, awesome. If we don't get our offer accepted, then I'm ready to put in the offer on that next property, since they're going to be responding Tuesday anyways.
What if they go into a counter offer situation though?
Hopefully you have something determined before the deadline on that next property. I guess, which would lead me to the next thing I'm going to say. If you find yourself in that situation, I think I would be open with both agents. Hey, I have a client right now. He's really interested in this property, and I realize that your deadline is this date. Like, I don't know, maybe be open about it. Like, here's his max that he wants to offer. Like, but he's gonna be writing an offer on this property. Like, can we wait to get a response on your offer or something? Like, I don't know, maybe that's an opportunity where just be open about it with the other agents,
So if you had 2 offers out and you would just want to basically let the other party know right away as soon as you had an offer accepted.
Yep. Yeah. And then at that point, if you got an offer accepted, you get a response on one of them, immediately let the other party know, hey, we want to retract our offer.
Would you have to put in an addendum for that?
I would talk to Tom about that, but the time I was in that situation and the other agents retracted it from us, they just did it in a form of an email.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is okay to do it that way. Because if you're trying to do an addendum, collect signatures and something, like, you're just taking more time that way. And
Right.
Yeah, I think email is probably a good way, but I would just run that by your principal broker.
Things are happening so fast,
Yeah, it really is. That's a great question. I would say that's not a good idea, but in this market, gosh, you could lose out on, again, if you find your buyer really liking both of these homes, but what if by waiting in the hopes of getting an accepted offer on one, you lose out on this other one? So that's a great question.
What happens if you were to do that and you got 2 accepted offers back basically simultaneously?
I don't know that could happen simultaneous. Like, what are the odds of that, right?
But let's just say they happen within, 5 hours or something crazy or whatever.
That's where you just have to immediately be available just to retract the other offer immediately, and just say, hey, we want to withdraw our offer. We got our offer accepted on that other property. And that's kind of where I mentioned earlier. If you're open with that agent and you said, hey, we do have an offer on another property, like, I'm just trying to be totally transparent. Like, if we get an offer, as soon as I know more, like, I'll let you know. I think if somebody approached me in that way, like, I would appreciate that they're being honest,
Have you ever heard of agents putting out like multiple offers at the same time? Say like 3 offers floating out there at the same time?
No, I wouldn't. No, I haven't done that, and I hadn't heard of agents doing it.
But it's legal and ethical at the same time, right?
I guess it depends in which way it's handled and when they're going to be reviewing offers. But I don't know if it's legal and ethical, honestly, because what if they do accept your offer all at the same time and you have now 3 offers you accepted? Can you actually perform on all 3 offers accepted? If you can't, then that's probably like a risk you're taking.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a great question because you're being creative with the market.
Yeah, there was a property that came up and basically they took they had the normal spiel. We're going to throw it up on a Thursday, review on a Monday and go over it Tuesday. But they had an over offer on Saturday that was so big, they just took it. So it's pending in one day, and I'm like, well, geez, we didn't even get a chance to see the property. It's just gone,
Yeah, see, and that's where I was saying earlier, like I've been in that position too. And it's like, hey, like you said, we were scheduled to go at this time. And I've actually been to a property and I looked at the RMLS while I was there and it was already pending and I was viewing the property. I'm like, hey, why didn't you tell me not to go show it? Like, so if you can go into the property and you can go in there sooner, like sometimes you do got to act quick. Like I see some buyers, sometimes they're like, hurry up, like we got to go see this house. It just came available. Like, yes, I see the urgency behind that buyer. However, but then I always talk with the agent first, like, hey, I'm not able to show it to you right now, but let me talk to the listing agent. Let me see if I can get you in there on Saturday, Sunday, or maybe even Monday, talk with the listing agents and with all parties. And you can never go wrong with communication.
And I'm sure you probably lost a property that way as well, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah. So you got to just move. This market's super fiery hot, and especially homes that are completely like gone through and they're turnkey, Then someone walks through there and they're like, oh, no work, no nothing to take care of. This is just ready to go. Boom. Then they just go max offer on it,
Yeah.
And then what I've heard too is coming in, and if you wait on a property like that, if they get a max offer, well, if they wait and don't actually accept that offer, that later that night, they've gotten an offer for even 20,000, 35,000 more.
Yeah. I just had an offer rejected yesterday. We wrote a really strong offer. We were willing to go over like by 35,000 over ask price. We did it in a form of an escalation clause. They accepted another offer just because the other offer was a bigger down payment than ours, which is a good enough reason because they're concerned for appraisals, right? But if there is no appraisal issue, so I guess
Have your appraisals been coming in good?
Yeah, mine have. One thing that I do if I'm representing a seller to try to avoid appraisals coming in low is I always go into my private remarks and I edit it after it's gone pending and I put appraisers and then I put a note in there. I said multiple offers received over ask price. And I do that only if it's true, right? And then I put, within that's an amount of time. We're not supposed to disclose what the amount is, but I just say over ask price and competitive offers or multiple offers or whatnot, Now that's additional information that appraiser has that maybe he didn't have previously. So it really does help them with value, I believe.
So that they can appraise it up so they can get the deal to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems like the appraisal should be just what it is though, right? Really. Like ethically, it should be whatever they determine it is, but.
Yeah, it's hard to be an appraiser right now. I mean, how do they determine value if the comparables are coming in at 300,000, yet they had multiple offers, and then the purchase price is 330,000? Like, how is that appraiser gonna determine that it is supposed to appraise $30,000 over than what the comps are coming in at? So I can't imagine being an appraiser right now because they don't know the other offers and they don't know how much the other offers came in at. But if we write multiple competing offers received, now they kind of have an idea and that helps them gauge that.
So I had a recent property come up and it was all turnkey, ready to go. And I started looking everywhere in the state, like in Portland as well, to do my comps on it because I feel like we're now competing with Portland. And because our market's pretty tight here. And people are moving here from Portland because they can now move, they can live remotely. You know, there's a lot of remote jobs and it's, you know, so I found some that were above, they were a little nicer, but basically I found some that were a lot higher than what they were asking. So we offered 60,000 over and we were still outbid.
And that's where I guess asking how many offers they have. I mean, I think that helps in that situation. How many offers did they have?
It was multiple offers, but essentially they kept me from, they saved me from actually having to write up an offer. You know, that was a verbal. And I explained to them that we have, you know, this buyer has 20% down. We're going to blah, blah, earnest money, such and such, close 30-day, whatever. They're like, oh, we've got another offer that's still much stronger than that. So they must have come in at least another 10,000 over that, probably, I'm guessing.
And so the situations I've been in sometimes too is I do see some properties that they're listed under what I call market value or the comps are coming in at. And I think some agents and maybe even the sellers are doing that to maybe get multiple offers and raise that price up even more.
Right.
And maybe that may have been a situation. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was. And so that's why I felt like really, because it was lower, I should have been offering even more. The appraisal probably would have come in even higher as well. So it's an interesting scenario. Last month, the same thing happened with another client. They offered a bunch and got beat by 60,000, offer of 60,000.
That's insane, 60,000.
Yeah, and then pending in 1 day has been a thing lately too, I noticed.
Yeah, see, that's where it's important. Get that offer in fast, right? Because if we're sitting around wanting to wait till the next day to show it or whatnot.
I have another question for you. Do you do a buyer's agreement with your clients?
No.
You dog.
I'm probably supposed to, but I don't.
No. I've worked with other Keller Williams agents that don't either. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a few that have bitten me in the rear for not doing that, but I guess I still haven't learned from it.
How hard did you get bit? Like months and months? Big bite? Yeah.
I put in probably like over 8 offers, and then they were past clients too. They were past clients. I had sold their home already, and they called the listing agent and they put in an offer with them. The lender called me. They're like, hey, what's going on? Like, these clients are putting in an offer and another agent is calling me requesting for the pre-approval letter. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? So I let it go. You know, I figured it was my fault. I didn't get a buyer's agreement, you know?
So 8 hours plus meeting with them, plus looking and searching. So you had a reasonable amount of time into this.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. But still not to the point where you're requiring that anymore, or you don't.
Yeah. Some people learn slowly. I guess I'm one of them, huh?
I mean, yeah. I would just assume that after that big of a loss, you would just make it a part of your policy.
Yeah, I trust people too much, man. I do tell them like, hey, I'm dumping my energy, my time into you. Like, I trust that you're gonna want to work with me. If you don't want to work with me, you know, I totally appreciate and understand that. But I'd like to know that, you know, now moving forward or whatnot. And I especially say that to buyers that have dumped other buyers and they want to work with me. Like, I've had that happen too. And I tell them, like, what is it that happened? I dig deeper. Why did that happen? Are you sure you don't want to work with them no more? Like, is that a done deal? Or did you guys sign agreements? And if you do want to work with me, like, I do set a strong foundation, but I don't make them sign that agreement.
And then they tell you, yeah, he put in 8 offers for me and didn't get a home.
Yeah, that's why I set strong expectations up front, and it helps for some.
So you'll go ahead and sign it and write an offer on something if someone else comes in and they're working with another agent, you'll pick them up too.
Yeah, but if, I have to know for a fact they're done with that realtor and they're not working with them. And I verify, like, why are they no longer working with them? Because like I said, I don't like stepping on other agents' toes. I want to be reputable and all that. And so if they are for a fact done,
You snake you.
but there's, you'll run into that where somebody's gonna run, get to know you at the right time, and they're like, oh, I've been working with somebody and I haven't been having a good experience. Like, I keep sending them properties and they're not contacting me and they're not communicating with me. Like, what are you to do in that situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, sorry.
I even checked the box that says, either of us can notify the other in writing and terminate this agreement at any time.
Yeah.
But I still have people that are reluctant to use that form. They just
Which
don't.
one?
The buyer's agreement.
Buyer's agreement.
Yeah. And I've met other agents that just hate that form, period.
Yeah. I have had only a few, and what they don't like is that if they choose to go with another agent, that they have to pay that fee. I honestly, I would never make a buyer pay for my fee if they dump me to go use another.
Yeah, me neither. But that's not what the client's thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're thinking, well, I'm going to owe 2 fees on this.
Exactly. Yep.
Thanks for those remarks.
You're welcome. Good questions. Well, guys, I think this pretty much puts this call this session to an end. I hope that I've answered you guys' questions, how to make strong offers, how to receive strong offers. And it's a very competing market. Know your numbers, know the market, know your, days on market, review those TMOs, review the market action that just came out yesterday. Know all of that stuff, because it makes you look like the local expert.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
go
appreciate
kick ass, guys. Go write some offers and get some offers accepted. All right, take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bet.